For staying with Daybreak, you're just in time for the conversation we're about to have. We're going to talk about three different things. One, tax on milk. Was it a good idea, bad idea? Is that the solution? That is one. Food security. There's also the issue of locust invasions, floods and droughts. And then there's rising cost of living as well. Now, Treasury has reviewed GDP growth from 6% to 5.6%, agreeing all too well that the money doesn't translate into Kenyans' pockets. But before we do that, let me introduce my guest to you. Ken Gishinga is here, Chief Economist, Mentoria Economics. Asante sana for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And Mary Ongore. She's a lecturer at the University of Nairobi and also a member of the Committee on Fiscal Studies. Thank you so much for making time.
Okay.
We have a rather lean panel this morning because we want this conversation to go out to the farmers themselves and hear from them whether these directives will work for the industry where they are and what they think are their own solutions. In fact, that is where we're going to start off right now in this morning. We're crossing over to Wasingishu, that's in Eldoret, where John Wanyama is standing by with some farmers there as well to find out whether they think this directive is the best for their industry. John, good morning. It's good to see you, man. I'll take it back to you. What's going on there?
A very good morning to you, Trevor. And in Wasingishu County, as you know, farming is a crucial thing here and it's a backbone for the economy in this particular region and the entire government country. And as you have said, most of farmers are also questioning whether this economy is really growing. Is it really growing for only those big people in the government, or is also growing for them? Because most of them are saying they don't have money at all in their pockets, and the government keeps on saying that the economy is, the GDP is growing from 5% to 6%. So I have a panel of them here. I have Kipkorir Arap Menjo, who is my guest. And let me start with Kipkorir Arap Menjo first. Menjo, the government, as per the president, the GDP is growing. What is your take on this?
Well, it may be growing as per their assessment, and the people they always approach to discuss these issues. Because you see, we have quite a number of people at the top of the pyramid who are accessible to funds, and they may be having big businesses, and they've been doing all this manner of huge investments. But if you come to the bottom of the pyramid, where the majority of the people are, or where we are, you find that things are not really easy. As we are, let me take for instance, for example, the town of Eldoret. In the last few years, we have witnessed that most of the shops are closing down. Others are changing business, trying to do something different. And you get in other areas, they are scaling down the workforce. And you can't say the economy is growing when you are getting most people reducing their workforce and scaling down their businesses. And people postponing what they were supposed to do. If somebody wanted to put up a house, you say maybe you'll try next year when things have improved. Somebody else says, oh, maybe if I wanted to take a course, tell your kid to wait, try to look for some temporary job as he prepares, so that maybe the following year again he try his luck or luck. So all these points that things are not really looking good. Okay. And that is the major challenge, although we are not being told directly that way.
Okay, hold there, Menjo. I'll come back to you. Also, Reverend Morris Haura. Yes. Wewe ni mkulima, wewe umekuwa ukiuza mazao yao sokoni. Uchumi unaona kweli umenawiri vile serikali inasema, ama wewe unaona tofauti?
Kwa kweli kabisa uchumi ya Kenya haisongi mahali. Kwa sababu ukiangalia kila sehemu watu wakulima wanalia, wakulima wa mahindi hapa wanalia, wenye kuuza maziwa wanalia, wenye kuuza nyanya wanalia. Na sasa ukiangalia unaona kuliko sasa serikali wangalisema uchumi inakuwa, wangalitafuta tu njia ya kufanya uchumi isonge mahali. Maana kama uchumi inakuwa, basi uchumi inakuwa kwa wale watu ambao wana nguvu. Kwa wale watu ambao wako wanapata pesa kwa njia ambayo si ile ya kufuata njia kamili. Lakini kwa wale ambao wanafuata njia kamili, ukiangalia biashara vile vinawapeleka, mtu anatamani hata kufunga vile mwenzanga amesema, ila acharibu mbinu nyingine kama atafaulu. Lakini uchumi wa Kenya haikui kabisa.
Naam. Hold there, Reverend Kibe.
Yes.
You are a serious farmer in Wasingishu County. Your take on this growth in the economy, what is your take on this?
As in regard to the growth of the economy, kama kungekuwa na machozi ya for export, wangekuja wangepata hapa Uasin Gishu, kwa sababu many of the farmers wamekuwa na vitisho, imekuwa ni tisho kabisa. Saa hizi nakwambia ndugu yangu, we have a lot of threats every corner. There is no business you can run and succeed. You can't. I don't know even who is this person actually speaking, saying the economy is growing. We haven't seen and we can't even feel. And for sure, it is very critical. I cannot support that unless the new CS for finance will explain to people or the Kenyans. I can speak on behalf to say to the Kenyans that if this economy is growing, show us an example of how that economy is growing. We can't see. Personally, I've been doing some little farming. I am really grounded, very much grounded. Ni ngumu sana kusurvive. It is just a matter of life and death. Because for sure, ukiangalia even the festive season ya December, it was hectic. There were nothing. Unasikia tu watu wanauza mbuzi kimalela, tunashindwa wanauza na wananunua shilingi ngapi. Nyama zinapeanwa, and you really wonder how those people get to that point of getting that. Hata uniform, hata suit, kuangalia watu vile walivaa mavazi, there was nothing there was no change. There was no change. Surely I want to ask Kenyans if there is anybody who can explain, who is an economist. I'm not an economist. Who can tell Kenyans how the economy is growing, by example. Because there is a thesis of something by saying unaweza kuangalia uchumi inanawiri. Hata wewe ukiwa mtoto unaambiwa unakuwa. And you see the height, you see the strength. But now with these people, they are lying us direct. This is life. This is a case I can for sure predict that there is. Hii ni mambo ya labda ni kuambiwa tu, labda vile wanasema katika makanisa kwamba Yesu atakuja. Na kama atakuja, si tumuone basi. Si wengine wamengojea na sisi tunangojea, lakini mambo ya uchumi tafadhali, the president actually needs to act. Na nimeona kwamba juzi rais alipokuwa Mombasa aliongea kuhusu mambo ya uchumi na alisema kwamba kuna wenye wanavionza wamevionza wakulima na wananchi wa Kenya. Tafadhali please.
No. Maybe Kibe, rais anasema kwamba alipendekeza mambo mengine yaweze kufanywa kama mambo ya majani chai, mahindi na maziwa iweze pengine iwekewe pesa, KCC ziweze kununuliwa. Unaona mapendekezo haya yatasaidia wakulima?
Ndugu yangu, wacha nikuambie, mimi nimekuwa na experience ya kuona. Mimi si msomi sana, lakini nikiangalia mambo ya kuwekewa pesa, angalia katika Mumias, mambo ya Mumias Sugar, wanapewa pesa, walipewa I don't know how many billions. It has not anything. Farmers, kama ni, if it is an industry that is working and it is prospering, actually inajitiletea pesa zake. Mambo ya kuset pesa, austerity measures tumepewa ya kwamba serikali imekata mambo kama mambo ya kutumia mafuta ya magari ya serikali, kufanya nini magazeti, lakini there is no improvement for sure. It is very hectic. I really wonder where we are going. And we are told that these are very young generation, very energetic, very strong Kenyans. I don't know where they are leading us to. But anyway, Mr. President, I like what you have said in Mombasa, that you are going to take action because you already know si eti ni Kenya inakosa, ni mchezo wa viongozi ambao tumewachagua ambao wanatuchezea shere kabisa.
Naam. Thank you Kibe. Reverend, mapendekezo ya rais anasema kwamba maziwa yawekewe ushuru wa juu 16%. Wewe unaona pengine hii itasaidia nyinyi kama wakulima, pengine wenye mnapeleka maziwa pale KCC mmewekewa pesa takriban shilingi milioni 500. Mnaona kwamba itawasaidia muuza mazao yenu?
Inaweza saidia kwa upande mwingine kama uongozi ama usimamizi uko sawasawa. Lakini kama usimamizi haiko sawasawa, hata aongeze percentage ngapi, uchumi hiyo haiwezi songa mahali. Maana kumekuwa na mazoea, ile pesa wanapoongeza wale wenye kunyakua wanaenda wananyakua. Alafu unakuta mkulima wa kawaida anaumia siku zote. Lakini kama anaweza ongeza hiyo na kuwe na usimamizi mzuri, mimi naona inaweza fanya jambo. Lakini asipoweka usimamizi mzuri, hakika hapo sioni kama kunaweza enda vizuri.
Arap Menjo, milk now it's an issue, especially in Uasin Gishu County, if we can be specific, in the North Rift. Milk has been at around 40 to 30 shillings. Now it's coming at 19 shillings. The president is saying those who are importing, we impose the VAT of about 16%. Is this going to help, really?
Yeah, it is a stopgap measure because one, the usual bill for KCC payment for, bill for milk payment to the farmers is about 400 million per month. So 500 million is actually a drop in the ocean. That will not even buy a month's supply of milk. And secondly, this money will just give farmers hopes, just temporarily for 1 month. And then thereafter, what will KCC do? Because the other players must also come in and ensure that they purchase milk at a good price. But if they purchase at that price, for instance, KCC, and they stock the milk because it will be milk powder, how will they market it when do we have people who import milk from subsidized markets outside the country? They go to Uganda, repack it, and bring it back and sell cheaply. So unless they ensure the infiltration of cheap subsidized border milk is stopped, the whole game is just going to be a sucker. So they need to ensure that, first of all, there was no shortage. There was no lack of milk. Market. There was no. The market was not lacking for milk. The challenge is the excess milk, which is brought from outside. So if they stop that, like they did in maize, then there will be flow of milk to the market, and consumers are always there. So the challenge is there are cartels who want to make cheap money out of the milk in the milk industry, and this is the people who have destroyed the the dairy industry. And the government must come out strongly to protect the industry so that farmers can have something by the end of the day in their pockets. But if we continue with this kind of suckers, we will not go anywhere. Mm-hmm. And it is important they do it. The earlier they do it, the better for everybody. Because the moment a farmer loses interest in taking care of his animals because he cannot sustain them, others will even sell. The industry will collapse. And how will you proceed? How will you be able to sustain the industry? And when the farmers are, frustrated to that level. So this is a serious matter, and I'm sure what the president did is a step in the right direction, but more should be done. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are
you having hopes in the new CS for agriculture, maybe that he has come in? Do you think it's going to help you? Or is it just almost still a way of massaging a problem but not really healing the real issue?
No. Personally, I know Mr. Munya. Mheshimiwa Munya is one guy who is focused on his work, and we have dealt with them on other areas because we have been struggling together to sort out challenges we have encountered, particularly in KFA, and we are almost sorting out the challenges we have faced. And I'm sure the way he's energetic enough to sort out what he needs only the support, because there are other players along the value chain who must also play the game by the rules, and that's how things will look.
Okay. Reverend, you being a farmer, being a reverend, maybe you are salvaging one way. If the farming is not giving you, are you getting something good in the church? I think maybe your followers, are they giving you something good? Maybe it can be good there.
Wanyama, nataka nikuambie shida hizi za uchumi zimeaffect hata kanisa. Maana ukiangalia hata ile matoleo ambayo washirika wanatoa kanisani ni picha kamili kwamba uchumi ya Kenya imesoroteka. Maana mtu anataka atoe sadaka, na kula hata nyumbani mtu amesacrifice, mtu ameumia. Hata chai kuweka hiyo maziwa, tunasema maziwa wataongeza pesa, ni ngumu sana. Wengi wanakunywa strong tea. Na sasa mtu kama huyo akikuja hata kanisani, unaangalia tu na unaona kweli akitoa hata shilingi 20 ama shilingi 50 ameumia kabisa, amejifinya mahali kwamba afanye hivyo angalau kazi ya Mungu isonge mbele. Lakini katika hali ya uchumi kwa kweli, tunaomba rais vile ameweka yule waziri mpya, tunaombea hata yule waziri, maana wanawekwa wazuri, wanawekwa wenye wana ushuhuda mzuri, lakini wanapofika kwa ule mfuko wanaharibu, na inaonekana kana kwamba hata hawangaliwekwa. Lakini ninaamini kwamba mambo yote inawezekana. Mtu anaweka pitii kwa kazi yake, awe mwaminifu kwa hiyo kazi, maana anahudumia Wakenya. Na kwa sababu anahudumia Wakenya, anahudumia pia Wakenya ambao wana macho, wana akili na wanaona kile kitu ambacho inafanyika.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Kibe, wewe unafikiria solution ni nini? What is the solution to this matter? Day in, day out, farmers crying. What do you think is your solution?
First, ningependa kusema kwamba wacha niseme comment about the new CS, Mr. Peter Munya. He is the best, I think. Yeye amedeal na mambo ya miraa, yeye anaelewa mambo ya ukilimo. Ikiwa yeye watu wa Meru walishiriki na wakaweza kufanya kazi ya miraa na yeye ameshughulikia, na unaona wako Meru is one of the richest counties. Really concur with him that we welcome you in Uasin Gishu. Visit the farmers in person. Tafadhali na kuomba ya kwamba Peter Munya, there is no need of even Kiunjuri handing over. Kiunjuri sisi tulikuwa hand over hiyo docket kwa whoever who will come. We don't mind about him handing over. He can, even the president can even give him a ambassadorial post in Australia kuenda angalia kangaroo. Huyu mtu ametukosea, na mimi nasema kwamba alikosea wakulima, alikosea nchi ya Kenya, na alisema kwamba nilimuona katika taarifa ambayo aliandika kwamba he was so much, he served Kenyans and is bitter. I know you, Mr. Kiunjuri, with your bitterness go home. We were tired. Mambo ya uchumi, mambo ya maziwa, mambo ya kilimo. Mimi nakwambia kilimo, even if you have one cow, it can sustain you, itakupatia samadi, itakupatia maziwa, na hiyo ng'ombe moja msiambiwe ya kwamba there is nani alikula hiyo pesa ndio serikali inatutolea pesa. Who ate the money? Because hiyo ng'ombe inajiservice. Kama mtu mmoja mkulima anaweza kutumia ng'ombe moja kusomesha watoto wake, who tells you that one cow, where is that money coming from? Where is the 500 million the president is giving us to the farmers? Why give us 500 million? Is there any loss in this corporate, in the society, in the KCC sector? No, it isn't. It is just maybe kuna mtu amekula mahali, wamefanya renovation, wakaweka sijui bill of quantities. Hiyo ni mchezo ndugu yangu. We need to be told actually, why should government be subsidizing or giving out some money to fund an issue, something that is already inajigenerate. KCC has been long there, it has been in existence, and we wonder how does it happen that serikali pump money and the consumption ya maziwa. Na nilikwambia, let me comment on issue. Mr. Ipara, our county commissioner, thank you very much. You have assisted us in Uasin Gishu. Hiyo maziwa yenye ilishikwa hapa Uasin Gishu at imported milk. Who is this importer? And we are not told. Dairy board, where are you? Why don't you check about these ones? These are even like very, very dangerous to the Kenyans. Because sababu imported milk, tunaambiwa imepelekwa government chemist, ni kama sukari. Okay. What is the problem?
Okay. Thank you. As we wind up, in your conclusion, ukimalizia Reverend Aura, suluhu ni nini?
Kitu cha kwanza, suluhu kama wanaweza toa pesa vile wanasema wanatoa hiyo millions kuweka kwa KCC kwa masiwa, ifuatiliwe vizuri na record zote siwekwe sawa sawa. Lakini maneno ya kusema wanatoa pesa na wanatolea mtu fulani pesa, unajua hii ni kama kutolea mtu pesa, alafu wa Kenya ambao wanaumia na uchumi ndio wanaenda kulipa hiyo ushuru. Na sisi kama wananchi, mimi kwa niaba ya kanisa nataka haki ifanyike, na rais wetu tunampenda. Rais anafanya kazi nzuri, na huenda akienda Mombasa ndiye anaweza fanya kazi mzuri kuliko akikaa Nairobi. Okay. Sasa akifuatilia na angalie kila sekta, kila sehemu, na afuatilie sawa sawa. Wale watu ambao wanachukua pesa zetu na kuenda kukula kama corruption, wengi wanashikwa, lakini wanapofika kule kwa sheria wanaachiliwa, hatuoni mahali wanapelekwa. Na mtu anarudi kufanya dhambi akiendelea. Asante sana.
Asante sana Reverend Arap Menjo. As you wind up in your conclusion, where is this solution? What can we do?
Yeah, I would like the government, particularly the national government, to ensure that all the protocols they have signed, particularly like the Maputo Protocol, which stipulates that the budget for the farming community should always be about 10% of the national budget. You know, currently we are doing about 3%, which is very low. So this budget, when it is adhered to, will ensure that they cater for subsidies required in the farming sector, particularly if they want to procure the inputs, they want to get all these other seeds, fertilizer and all that, and also timely procurement of inputs. Like now, we are around the corner, if planting will soon be starting, and so far there's no arrangement for acquisition of fertilizer. They talked of e-voucher, which should be used to give farmers the subsidies. But if they, up to now they have not launched or they have not rolled out, when will they have that time? And in time is not going to wait for them. So all these, we have bureaucratic red tapes which have delayed everything. But I hope when we are going to handle this with Munya, we are going to see which one comes first as they roll out the programs. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys, for having time to come to Bomain Hotel just to have this great discussion. Trevor, we're making farmers to wake up this early is really a task that we really have to make, that we push on, so that they can come here and discuss these issues. But Trevor, one thing most of these farmers are asking is that the county government, or rather agriculture, is a devolved function. Why can this agriculture be given fully to county government, so that even if it's Governor Mandako who is handling these farmers, all the way from milk, tea, and maize, he can know that he's handling them. He can know who is he going to pay, and rather than dealing with the CS from Nairobi, since it's a devolved function. But as we have heard from them, they are raising crucial questions to the government, that like KCC is an issue. Now the president issued that they should be given 500 million, or rather, but per month, KCC pays farmers 450 million as per what they have supplied to that particular company. So it's just a drop in a sea, and we are just, maybe farmers are waiting to see whether this will work, and they have hopes, of course, in the new CS, whether he's coming with a good solution for them to stop this forever cry. Back to you, Trevor.
Thank you very much, John Wanyama. I know it's very hard to wake up in the morning by experience. Thank you for that conversation. Asante sana from Eldoret there. Let me hear what my guests have to say. You've heard what the farmers have said. Ken, and I'll start with you. What are initial reactions on all those issues that have been raised by the farmers themselves?
I think they're absolutely right, and I think it's something we've discussed times without number, that the life of the farmer has been very difficult from a financing perspective. Somebody talked about the Maputo Declaration that says 10% of the national budget should go into agriculture. Right now, that's much less.
Yeah.
If you look at commercial banks, only 1% of bank loans go to the agriculture sector. So already you have a financing issue.
Yeah.
Next, you have a quality of inputs issue, because if you don't have the money, you end up buying poor quality inputs in terms of you don't have coolers, you can't afford the best types of vaccines for the cows, for the cows. So it means the produce that comes out, is poor quality, and you can't sell it at a good price. Then you have the competition coming from other countries. So you have this cocktail of issues affecting the Kenyan farmer. And what these farmers are saying, that it's time we put the farmer first, because agriculture contributes a quarter of the GDP. And if you don't get it right, it's very unlikely we'll get other sectors right.
It's interesting that you bring up the ripple effect issue, but I'll come to that in just a bit. Mary, what do you think?
I'd like to just to supplement what Ken has said by emphasizing the fact that along the value chain, we have brokers that benefit. That issue needs to be addressed by the government in a decisive manner, because that reduces the amount that farmers take home. You find that at the farm gate, the price of milk is a lot less, but the retail price is consistently, it's consistent. So that is a problem, the brokers along the supply chain. And then second to that, we need to invest in technology. And I think this is something that the government is well aware of. Irrigation, we need to not depend on the climate, because there's, climate change obviously, and the inputs that if you want to base your returns on relying on the climate, then you get a lot less. And then to add on to that, we also have additional costs such as transportation. So the cost of transportation is high. It feeds into the value of the produce and what goes to the market. Again, that pushes up the cost of living. Part of that, there's a problem that was created when we had the VAT on fuel that was imposed, and that has had a ripple effect on the cost of living generally. So of course, there you have people saying that we're not feeling the effect of this growth. And finally, we have again the cost of inputs. If we're not effectively subsidizing the cost of inputs, such as fertilizers, such as animal feeds, those still are quite high. And for a farmer to make significant profits, they need to generally do it on a large scale, and therefore the small scale farmer doesn't benefit, because the cost is not worth it. So it takes quite a bit, and given that the majority of farmers are smallholders, then there is a problem in that regard.
Ken, let's talk about the tax on milk. So there's a 16% proposal on all milk that's coming in. What essentially does that even mean to the layman?
Well, one of the biggest complaints of the ordinary farmer in Kenya is the imports from other countries. There are a lot of imports coming in, and it's very hard for the Kenyan farmer to compete with those cheap imports. So this is a government directive to put a VAT on that so that the cost of inputs sort of equals what we have in Kenya, and it's more competitive. So it's a short-term measure to protect the local. It's a protectionist measure to protect the local dairy farmer. The problem in the long term is the other East African countries will end up doing the same for Kenyan exports going to those countries. So you start creating a trade war, because when you slap a tax on imports, Uganda and Tanzania will do the same. And we are trying to move towards the East African common market. So you end up having now trade wars within the region, and now you start becoming less competitive. I think the bigger question should have been, why is a Kenyan farmer not competitive? And it's exactly what Mary said, we are overtaxed. The amount of licenses you have to have as a farmer in Kenya, just as a dairy farmer, it's too much for you to be competitive. So we have to think of, how do you make the Kenyan farmer competitive by reducing taxes, reducing the number of licenses they need, so that they can effectively compete with other parts of the world. Others, if you end up having protectionist measures, it will only protect you in the short term, but in the long run, all the other countries will do the same for you, and other sectors now start to hurt.
And so Mary, I know you're also a tax expert on these issues. So this is not, this is just a basic stopgap measure, and then we'll be hemorrhaging on another side, because there's no quid pro quo. They're not really just going to tax the same milk that we're taxing. They're going to tax all the other things that we export. Is that what we're saying?
Not necessarily. As far as I understand it, there's a reciprocal tax in, I think, particularly in Uganda, whereby, you know, if they'll tax a certain percent, they'll tax our imports. Now, the issue that, like Ken has said, is it's a stopgap measure. It raises revenue in the short term, but it doesn't address the structural problems. The structural problems are what we need to deal with in the same way that the other East African community countries have done. So, for example, why are they able to produce so much milk that they're in a position where they are able to supply their domestic market and, in addition, export? And that goes back to what I had said earlier on. If we do not invest in the infrastructure, if we do not invest in the infrastructure from the get-go, this is at county level and at national level, then we are left behind. And I think there was a measure that was proposed to construct new cooling plants, milk plants. Those are measures that it's a little bit too late, but in the long term, I think that will be more effective than just directing there to be an import tax on milk.
All right. Yes. Ken, considering we in East Africa, actually, we're the largest consumers of milk at about 5.2 billion liters a year. So now there's this proposing 16% on the incoming milk, and then there's the raising of per liter milk buying price from 25 to 33. KCC has been ordered to mop up all the milk. Isn't that concoction the best solution for farmers now?
As I said, it's a short-term measure to protect
even the raising of the amounts to buy the milk.
Well, I think we have to look at it from a short-term, medium-term, and long-term perspective. I agree to your point that since we are the biggest consumers of milk, having extra tax on imports will have a ripple effect on us. We'll see the cost of living going up because we're the biggest consumers. I've always said we need to think about what is the best place in the value chain. Should we be competing in the raw milk space, or should we be looking at value addition, where you are thinking of things like cheese, like yogurt, like ice cream? You know, should we play at that end of the market because we have the factories, or should we compete with the raw milk from the other East African countries where the cost of labor is much cheaper, the cost of inputs is much cheaper? So there's something in economics called comparative advantage. And every country has to assess, do we have a comparative advantage in labor costs, in input costs? And if we do not, maybe we have to accept, maybe we need to play at the higher side of the value chain, where we do buy now milk from these other East African countries, but we have a lot of processing. So we move towards the manufacturing side, where it's more of yogurt and cheese and such products. But we still have to protect our Kenyan farmers. It's not easy for you to just be a dairy farmer today and tomorrow to be a yogurt processor. It's a whole process. You need to buy equipment, you need to have training. So I think as a long-term strategy, we need to start preparing our dairy farmers to play at the higher end of the value chain, because if you're just competing on raw milk, all these East African countries, the cost of doing business is much cheaper. So yes, we can put these VAT taxes on them, but they'll do the same for us on other products.
Okay. All right, let's take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll cross over to Nyeri, where Martin Mrende is standing by with more farmers. Let's hear from them as well in terms of food security. They've moved from floods to heading to drought. Now there's locust, and also there's the issues that have been raised by the president earlier on and the directives given. We'd also like to hear from you as well. 22422 is the SMS line. And Trevor Mbija, @Zinzi_K, at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. We're back in just a bit.